Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and I know we're back with the old setup. That's just because we are still working out some of the kinks that come with the new setup, but that's not the point of today's video. The point of today's video is that we are going to be talking about how much can Todd Monken help now that he has been fully promoted to offensive coordinator. Now, the first point that I need to make, and I cannot stress this enough, is that Dirk Cutter is still going to be calling plays during regular season games. Just because Todd Monken has been promoted to full-time offensive coordinator does not mean he now has the ability to call plays during regular season games. Dirk Cutter has still decided to keep that for himself, and he will still be the one calling plays. So if you still have a problem with play calling in this upcoming regular season, don't blame Todd Monken, blame Dirk Cutter, because he's the one who will still be calling plays. That's not to say that Dirk Cutter will be bad at calling plays this year. It's just something to think about. You know, who's going to be behind the play calling this year? It's going to be Dirk Cutter, not Todd Monken. But now, with that first point being said, I want to talk a little bit now Todd's former role with the team. He actually used to be the wide receivers coach as a part-time job, and then he was also part-time offensive coordinator. So he was kind of specifically with the wide receivers for the majority of his time, and then there was some offensive coordinator stuff sprinkled in there with his duties as the wide receiver coach. So he was working with guys like Mike Evans, like Deshaun Jackson, Adam Humphries, Chris Godwin. You know, maybe Chris Godwin's development and his rise to stardom for the Buccaneers specifically is potentially because of Todd Monken. We don't know yet. It's one of the curious things that is so interesting about him being promoted to full-time offensive coordinator now is, like, if he possibly had a hand in the development of guys like Adam Humphries and guys like Chris Godwin, what can he do with an entire offensive arsenal at his disposal, at his coaching abilities disposal? You know, it's something to very keep track of, is the development of these players just as an overall offensive unit. Play calling's one thing, but coaching and development is an entirely different thing, and Monken could have a very large part in a lot of these guys' developments. And actually, Dirk Cutter just recently came out with this quote saying, Todd's an experienced coach, and he's been a head coach, and he's been an offensive coordinator before. So he now has responsibility to all positions on offense instead of just to the wide receivers. Keep in mind, this was I'm getting a lot of this information from an ESPN article written by Jenna Lane. So if you want to go check out the rest of that article, that's going to be in the description below, so you can kind of get more of a feel and just kind of read between the lines of what's really going on with this entire situation. But with that quote that Dirk Cutter gave there, with talking about how experienced Todd is, you know, he was a former head coach in college football, as well as a former offensive coordinator in college football as well. You know, Dirk Cutter's putting a lot of stock into Todd Monken and saying, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. You know, he's been able to handle the duties of being head coach, and he's also been able to handle the duties of being an offensive coordinator, and I'm now putting my trust in him to handle a decent majority of things now. You know, he's going to be Dirk Cutter's right-hand man, at least in terms of offense. Obviously, Dirk Cutter's other hand is going to be Mike Smith on defense. So now, finally, Dirk's kind of got to have a guy who he can shoulder some of that responsibility to, and he definitely feels that Todd is going to be the guy to handle that responsibility. And then this wasn't the only coach to give Todd Monken praise. Recently, also in the article, Buccaneers tight end coach Ben Steele came out and said, "We both can coach tight ends now. I can't coach up every single guy, so now that he can walk around and be involved in all the different drills, it's awesome." So obviously Ben Steele also feels that having Todd Monken being able to walk around each and every position, kind of overview what's going on, maybe give a little bit of tips, kind of advice on certain situations. A lot of these positional coaches are going to find that very beneficial and helpful in terms of not just helping out them as coaches, but helping out the players and their development, because maybe the Ben Steele and the other positional coaches, maybe they don't have enough time to say everything that they want to say. So whenever you have another voice there, another set of eyes there to say, hey, maybe you can run that route better, or hey, whenever you're trying to catch the pass, maybe twist your body like this, or maybe hold your hands like this, that information can be invaluable because it's getting another set of eyes there, it's getting another voice there, it's just kind of getting more opinions there to correct players' developments and just overall make them better. And another thing that was revealed in this article, I guess you could say, by Jenna Lane, is Monken is now fully in charge of scripting all plays during practice, which was Dirk Cutter's usual duty, but he has since given that to Todd Monken, and Dirk went on to say that he is very happy now because it gives him more time to give strategical organizations in terms of getting players ready and just making sure that they're all ready to go for games and practices and whatnot, and also gives him more time for team meetings and motivational strategies. So now that he doesn't have to do these form these offensive plays in practice, he's going to have more time to just work on his overall coaching strategy moving forward. So that again, that is also a very valuable job that Todd Monken has, because like I said earlier, he's going to shoulder some of that responsibility that once was Dirk Cutter's, and now Dirk's going to be able to actually focus on probably what some people would call the minor duties of the head coaching job, but still have this ability to go out there and implement his strategy and kind of overall give a general message to the players of, okay, this is what we need to do, and this is the type of thing that we need, this is the direction that we need to go in for the team. And, you know, just recently, last year, whenever there was talk about this whole Jameis Winston and Dirk Cutter rift that was going on, Todd Monken had to be the one who had to step up to the plate and talk with the media and kind of calm them down and give a speech and talk about how, like, there's nothing going on, you know, da-da-da-da-da, like, there's nothing going on. So he was kind of that mediator, kind of that ambassador, I guess you could say, for the Buccaneers. Once the chips were down, you know, the Bucs were down on their luck, things were going bad, Todd Monken was kind of that source of optimism, at least in the eyes of the media, when the media came flocking and came trying to put a type of dysfunction in this team and say, you know, is Dirk Cutter going to get fired? Is, you know, what's going on with Jameis? You know, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Todd Monken had to be the one to step up and say, guys, calm down. Everything's going to be fine. You know, everything's going to be fine. Let's just work at it. Let's just keep on working at it. And this kind of plays into a role this upcoming offseason, I guess you could say, specifically with Jameis Winston. One of Todd Monken's big roles, I guess you could say, is one of his big roles as offensive coordinator is helping along Jameis Winston. And Monken started with Jameis by saying, you know, just it's okay to be a failure. You know, it's okay to fail sometimes. Because Jameis Winston has been proven to have a little bit of a hot head. He did headbutt, I think it was a Cowboys linebacker back in 2016. He was upset in the Panthers game whenever a fumble didn't go his way, which, keep in mind, that fumble should have went our way, should have went the Buccaneers' way, but Jameis Winston still overreacted. He made a very large amount of fits on the field, ended up pushing over Shelton Quarles, you know, and then just recently with the whole Saints situation where he got Mike Evans suspended because he poked Marshawn Lattimore in the back of the helmet. You know, Jameis Winston's a very emotional guy, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but Jameis has to learn how to control those emotions in dire situations and in situations where he needs to keep calm. That's Todd Monken's job now to help kind of work with Jameis on that. And Monken's message to Jameis right away was, it's okay. It's okay to fail. You just need to be yourself. You don't have to try so hard at certain things. You're a natural leader, Jameis. People are going to follow you. You just need to be the best you can be. And I resonate with that. I think that is a very good message to give Jameis, because like I said, Jameis is still a very young quarterback. He's still very emotional. And think of the pressure that's on Jameis Winston. You know, he has the shoulder, he has to shoulder this load of being a young franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he has to shoulder this responsibility of, okay, Jameis, you're our guy. You're our guy. Go out and win us games. You know, if you go down or if you mess up, Jameis Winston, this whole team is not going to succeed. That's a huge amount of pressure, and Todd Monken has the very important job of working with Jameis Winston and keeping him emotionally in check and making sure he is the most prepared he can possibly be for games. And I really can't stress enough how important that last job is. You know, making sure that Jameis Winston is ready. You know, Jameis Winston actually just came out recently and said, Coach Monken has been one of my favorite coaches since I've been here. The main thing I like about him is he's a realist. He's going to come at you straight. He isn't going to lie to you. He isn't going to try and beat around the bush. He's going to be real about you, and he's going to find a way to teach you. You know, that last couple of words there. He's going to find a way to teach you. A lot of quarterbacks, we've seen a lot, and I mean a lot of quarterbacks that have been taken in the first round that have been busts, just haven't worked out, have been out of the league after a few years because of poor coaching. You know, if you're a franchise quarterback, you need somebody right there on your hip to be your mentor, to guide you, to, you know, to do all these types of things. And positional coaches sometimes can't be enough because you can only have them there for a certain amount of time. Now that you have two eyes, not just with the quarterback coach Mike Banjan, but also with Todd Monken now as the offensive coordinator, I expect there to be a lot of time spent with Jameis Winston and saying, okay, Jameis, you can work on this better. Jameis, you can work on that better. Here's some advice that we can give you to make you better. I expect a lot of time to be put in with Jameis Winston, especially with Todd Monken. I expect them to guide him well. I expect them to overall just be there and make sure that he is the most prepared, like I said. Because, you know, it's a very thin line, you know, it's always, I feel like it's not always 50-50, but you never know what could happen. You know, one of these guys you get so excited about and you get so hyped up about could end up being a bust. Look what happened to Josh Freeman recently in my one of my most recent videos talking about Josh Freeman. If you want to go see that, you can click the eye icon on the top right of the screen. But Freeman didn't have a good coaching staff around him and didn't have a good enough support system in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room, and it horrifically affected his career. He left the Buccaneers and was never a full-time starter ever again. Former first-round pick, 17th overall pick in an NFL draft, and he was out of the league. He was basically out of the league as a starting quarterback within 5 years. He only lasted 5 years as a starting quarterback, and I feel a lot of that has to do with coaching ability and who you put around your franchise quarterback. I feel that with Jameis's current cast of coaches around him, that he will have the ability to maintain a certain level of play and maintain that franchise quarterback label that all of us have given him. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Do you think that this promotion that Todd Monken has gotten to full-time offensive coordinator is good? What would you like to see out of Todd Monken? Would you like to see just an overall development of the entirety of the offense? Would you like to see him calling plays possibly later on down the line? I don't think it's going to be happening soon, obviously, because Dirk Cutter seems pretty set in calling plays. But do you want to see Todd Monken call some plays and see what's going to happen? Do you want to see him work with Jameis Winston more? Do you want to see him work with the tight ends more? Maybe the offensive line more? Where do you see Todd Monken being the most effective for this team? Let me know down in the comments section below. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and again, check out the article that ESPN wrote by Jenna Lane, and I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next video, but until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.